The story begins in a small town near the vampire village. It's a completely rundown place. People barely manage to survive each day, and no travelers ever stop there. There is little they can do about it because of their neighboring vampire village. Everyone is scared to come because of the rumors, and the problem isn't confined to just their village. Nasty rumors have spread across the entire region. While they talk, a man dressed in black approaches and asks for directions to the vampire village. The locals stare at him in surprise, wondering if he is a vampire hunter. The man denies it and introduces himself as Land, a necromancer. Later, Land arrives at the vampire village named Yomand. He was given a special mission to investigate the vampire village. Curious, he asks whether this means vampires are actually present, but he is told that the village has long been abandoned. Because of this, many undead have now taken it as their base. However, if the village is still active and planning to attack humans, they must be ready. That's why he has been sent to investigate the vampire who might still be there. More importantly, this might also help him discover why his powers suddenly changed from those of a Tamer to a Necromancer. With that possibility in mind, he decides to carry out the investigation. As he remains lost in thought, a loud roar brings him back to reality. Two of his tamed monsters stand before him. Among them is a wolf spirit named Ray and a minotaur spirit named Ace. He asks them if they are sensing anything. He can still understand parts of their roars due to his former skills as a tamer, but not when their will is weak or when their cries are meaningless. While he struggles to understand them, several undead suddenly appear. The two spirits quickly rush to their master's aid and take out the zombies. He admits he feels a little sorry and decides to pray for them. A notification appears that he has successfully used necromancy. Through skill absorption, he acquires the dead zombies' skills, which includes beginner swordsmanship, beginner spearmanship, abnormal resistance, strengthening, and diet recovery. This surprises him. He didn't know necromancy can be used when something is dead. This gives him an idea. He uses an old skill from his tamer days called Wide Area Contract, followed by Necromance. The system confirms that his Necromance range has expanded. In an instant, he acquires a bunch more skills from all the undead in the area. Moreover, all his stats improve significantly as well. His familiars, Ray and Ace, also grow stronger. Suddenly, something catches his eye. The system informs him that he has necromanced a lich and gained the skill White Flame. He also necromances a wraith and obtains the skill Lightning. This is original magic. On top of that, both of these skills can only be used by sages. As a tamer, he only had the ability to work together with other monsters. But with necromancy, he can take their abilities entirely. Maybe now he can even exorcise vampires without the need for holy magic. Suddenly, a girl appears behind him. She is the vampire Land had come to investigate. She is clearly not happy that Land destroyed her family. With the flick of a finger, she unleashes a powerful slash, chopping his arm clean off. Luckily for him, his recently acquired pain tolerance skill comes in handy, making the pain bearable. Ray jumps into action, literally, and charges at her. But once again, with a simple gesture from her hand, she easily defeats him. Ace attacks next, but the result is the same. Her power is in a league of its own. She attacks Land again, sending him crashing into a wall. Although he doesn't feel the pain, he is losing too much blood, and at this rate, it's only a matter of time before he passes out. As he stares at the monster before him, he knows he has bitten off more than he can chew. He unleashes his White Inferno spell at full power, but it has no effect. The girl remains unharmed, smiling at his desperation. He follows up with his lightning spell, casting it with everything he has. A blinding light shoots from the sky, and even the girl appears momentarily surprised. The spell takes up most of his energy, leaving him on the brink of collapsing from exhaustion. But even this isn't enough. As he struggles to remain conscious, the girl calmly remarks that his unique skills, White Inferno and Lightning, are intriguing. He has caught her attention. She expresses interest in making him her genus. He sits quietly thinking it through. Although it's not ideal, it's better than dying. He asks her what happens once the contract is formed, but even she doesn't seem to know since this is her first time. Before agreeing to anything, he decides to ask her for her name. She introduces herself as Mirim, a pure-blood vampire lord. Instead of becoming her genus, he gives her a counter-proposal. While hearing him out, she even restores his arm using her Lord of the Night skill. Land quickly assesses his options before revealing his proposal. If she has ill intentions toward humans, she could be dangerous. But from what he has seen so far, she seems to have no such intention. So he decides to take a chance. He proposes that she become his friend. Miriam is taken aback. Her aura suddenly changes from a terrifying monster to a scared little girl. She reveals that she is scared of humans. Her answer surprises him. She continues explaining that vampires and humans are fundamentally incompatible. Even those who do not harm humans are often pruned. Because of this, she has developed a distrust of humans. But a genus is different. They are like a subordinate. More than that, they are like a child. A genus does not betray, which is why she can place her trust in them. Hearing this, Land offers a compromise. As a necromancer, he has the power to form contracts with the undead and turn them into allies. He offers to become her genus, and in return she would make a contract with him using necromance. That way, they would stand as equals. Miriam happily accepts, excited to become his friend. As they shake hands, he even tells her his real name, Randall. As things calm down, they wonder how they should proceed from here. Randall gently suggests that if she has no objections, they could become adventurers together. She agrees, finding the idea fun. But before that, they still need to form that contract. Miriam asks the same question. What happens when they form a contract with necromance? He gives him the same answer she did. Since it's also his first time, he doesn't know either. Meanwhile, Miriam decides to put the idea of becoming a genus aside for now. She explains that becoming a genus is a binding contract that can never be broken. Violating it means death. So she suggests they begin with something lighter. He understands the risk. Randall had assumed that it would be fine as long as he formed a contract as well, but it seems it's not that simple. He offers to take her to the guild and register her as an adventurer. She becomes nervous at the idea of being around humans, but then reassures herself that everything will be fine because she is with him. He smiles. Together they set off toward their new adventure. The newly formed party pushes through a raging storm on their way to the nearest town. By nightfall, they take shelter at an inn. When they reach their room, Randall apologizes, explaining that he was only able to get one room. Miriam reassures him that it's fine. There's plenty of space for two, and another room would have been a waste. She asks about where his familiars will be sleeping. Randall explains that he put the bigger one within his skill, Coffin of the Dead Spirit. Changing the topic, Miriam reminds him that they still haven't formalized their contract through necromancy. So they decide to do it now. As Randall uses his necromance skill, a notification appears to confirm the pact. A contract has been formed with the vampire lord Miriam. As the bond seals, she feels a strange, almost otherworldly sensation. Randall, in turn, gains a ton of new abilities through the contract. Unique skills such as Black Fog and Lord of the Night, along with bonus abilities like Blood Regeneration, Black Wings, and Great Enhancement of Dark Magic, all absorbed into his own power. This leaves both of them stunned. Randall explains that because the contract was forged through necromancy, their abilities have been shared. Another notification confirms his stats have risen significantly, while Ray, Ace, and Miriam's statuses have also increased through familiar strengthening. Still processing, she asks if this is normal, admitting she has never even seen a necromancer before. And since vampires have very long lives, that says a lot. Randall quietly reflects on how different his life has become compared to his past as a tamer. When Miriam asks about it, he apologizes, realizing he has yet to tell her everything about how he went from being a tamer to becoming a necromancer. It wasn't long ago. Back then, he had been his party's so-called luggage. As a tamer, his role was simply to carry burdens. Ray had always been with him, and sleeping in the stables never felt like much of a hardship. His party members always exclude him from the party's meetings and treat him as a second-class member. Luige, the party's head knight, ridicules him constantly for everything, even for caring for Ray so much. To Luige, Ray is useless. He doesn't even care if he is his childhood friend. The head priest, Quella, defends Randall, insisting he is doing his best and doesn't deserve to be sidelined. Mael, the genius magician, agrees, saying there has to be a better solution. Finally, their leader Fido intervenes. Calmly, he admits there are risks but affirms that Randall can still do things no one else can, and the rest of the party can compensate through teamwork. Luigi scoffs and storms off, leaving the others to remind one another that tomorrow they will challenge the god-slaying dungeon. That night, Randall and Ray watch silently from the window. When Luige returns, he slams his fist against the frame, warning that if Ray barks again, there will be consequences. Since he is only a luggage carrier, he doesn't get to do much fighting, and hence doesn't gain the necessary experience to grow stronger. Despite all this, Ray has always stayed by his side. He thanks him sincerely, knowing that despite everything, Ray is the best companion he can ask for. The next morning, the party sets out towards the god-slaying dungeon, a dungeon where no one has ever entered before. As usual, Randall is only useful for carrying luggage, with a helping of constant ridicule on the side. As they arrive, the group quickly rushes inside. Randall follows, thinking this might be his last dungeon quest with them. He only hopes that in the end, they would see him as a somewhat worthy companion. Inside, they face a huge swarm of monsters, much more than they expected. Luwage immediately accuses Randall of causing trouble. Fido orders Randall to do the best he can while constantly reporting everything he sees. Randall acknowledges his earlier mistakes, though Luwage continues to berate him. Fido tries to keep the group focused. They can't fight amongst themselves when things are this bad. Soon the party finds itself surrounded from all sides. While they are still processing the danger, Ray suddenly charges forward, throwing himself at a monster head-on. At the same time, Randall spots movement behind Luwage and shouts a warning. Luwage cuts it down with a swift strike while still managing to find an excuse to berate Randall. Against the wall, Quella places her hand without noticing the faint green sheen coating the surface. Randall quickly cries out in alarm, warning her not to touch it. The wall is poisoned. Luwage once again berates him for failing to detect such an obvious trap sooner. Mael rushes to Quella's side, urgently casting a healing spell. Randall tries to help as well, but he has made known that his help is not needed. Quella is the only one who defends him. Coming back to the monster issue, Fido steps forward, ordering a change in formation. Luwage is to resume his position on the front line, while Mael readies her magic. Quella, meanwhile, will provide support from the rear. One by one, the others acknowledge their roles and move into place. Randall calls Ray back to his side and follows the group as they push into the next area. What greets them makes every step falter. The rumors had spoken of a single Minotaur as the floor boss. Instead, 5 massive Minotaurs loom before them. Panic erupts. Fido immediately calls for retreat. Luwage protests, shouting that it's too late to turn back now. Quella, steady despite the fear, explains that if they can reach the staircase leading out of the 5th floor, they'll be safe. The party bolts. As they flee through the twisting corridors, Randall asks about the luggage. Even in this situation, the disregard for Randall is made clear. Fido snaps, reminding him that it is his responsibility to carry it. Quella interjects, urging them to forget the luggage and focus on survival. It's obviously impossible to carry so much weight while running from monsters. The monsters slowly catch up. Frustration boils over. Luwage snarls at Mael to find a solution, since she is supposed to be a genius. She realizes that if one person stays behind as bait, the rest might survive. Luwage laughs bitterly and points at Randall, declaring him the perfect sacrifice. Randall freezes, stunned that the thought has been spoken aloud. Once again, Quella tries to defend him, calling out the absurdity of the plan. Luwage turns his cold gaze on her and asks if she would rather be the one to sacrifice herself. She goes silent when faced with such a question. In the end, she too values her life. The decision has been made. The rest of the group surges forward, leaving Randall and Ray behind as monsters close in. When all seems lost, Fido drops back, breathing some hope into Randall. At least one of his teammates is not willing to abandon him, but his eyes are cold. He tells Randall that he had always planned to kick him out the party once this dungeon was cleared. For a heartbeat, Randall's mind goes blank. He had already suspected as much, but why say it now? Then Fido adds almost cruelly that even now Randall still has a chance to prove himself, if he does one last thing. Confused, Randall asks what he means. Without hesitation, Fido draws his sword. His gaze flicks to Ray and he sneers, declaring that a mere creature like him could never stand against someone destined to be the next hero. As he raises his blade to strike Ray down, Randall steps forward, blocking the attack. Fido meets his eyes without flinching, declaring coldly that this is for the good of everyone. His sword hits Randall, making him kneel on the ground in pain. He insists that if Randall dies here, he will be remembered for generations as a legend, and urges him to sacrifice himself. As the monsters come closer, he runs away, leaving him to die. Watching him go, Randall realizes there was no reluctance in his strike. Turning around, Randall sees the Minotaurs drawing closer. He begins to detach emotionally, remembering all the abuse he has faced at the hands of his teammates. Randall feels the weight of insignificance settle over him. All his efforts seem meaningless. Exhausted and disheartened, he resigns himself to stillness, overwhelmed by it all. The Minotaurs finally reach him, ready to strike him down. But just before the blow lands, Ray leaps in and intercepts the monster. He attacks the Minotaurs relentlessly, trying to win a losing battle. Randall calls out to him, telling him to run away, but Ray refuses to abandon him. Randall eventually falls to his knees in despair, begging him not to sacrifice himself for someone as worthless as him. But that doesn't stop him. Eventually, one of the Minotaurs manages to grab Ray and attacks him with an axe. Randall watches helplessly. His mind flashes back to a moment when he had sat with Ray, confiding in him after another day of being blamed. Ray was the best companion he could ever ask for. Tears fill his eyes as he rushes toward him, calling out and apologizing. As the Minotaurs now set his sights on him, Randall realizes that this is it. In his heart, he silently tells Ray that he will join him soon. Just as the attack is about to land, another wolf jumps in to defend him again. Randall is stunned watching the scene unfold. The Ray look-alike attacks the Minotaurs with ferocity, taking all 5 of them out in mere moments. Randall stands frozen, unable to understand what has just happened. How can there be 2 Rays? A system notification appears. He has met the conditions for acquiring necromancy. Along with that, he has acquired a bunch of new abilities and buffs, including the ability to use Ray again. Randall looks at the wolf before him and recognizes something familiar. The creature responds with the same call Ray once used. His eyes well up with tears. However, he notices Ray's form is faintly transparent and floating. It becomes clear to him that Ray did die, and it was because of him. Suddenly, Ray begins to move playfully. He watches in surprise, wondering what's happening. He reflects, considering that this may be the result of his newly awakened necromancy. Now, he can sense Ray's emotions more clearly than ever. Ray feels no resentment or sorrow over his death. Instead, he feels pride for having protected his master until the very end. Randall, overcome with emotions, begins to cry. With silent gratitude, he thanks Ray and comes to realize that he is, without a doubt, a truly blessed master. Randall considers what to do with the dead Minotaurs. He recalls the earlier system notification. He had absorbed their powers along with Ray's. If that's true, maybe he can summon them too. One of the Minotaurs suddenly rises in spirit form, startling Randall. At the same time, a surge of energy rushes through him. Testing his strength, he shatters the wall in front of him with a single kick. Facing the 5 corpses, he calmly analyzes the situation. The ability is called Absorption, yet Ray hasn't lost any power. It feels more like sharing than taking. The bodies still matter. Minotaur corpses are valuable, and he won't abandon Ray's either. But how can he carry them? While he wrestles with the problem, another notification appears. Conditions met to learn the skill Coffin of the Dead Spirit. He activates the ability and Ray's body vanishes into a small bottle. With this, he can also store the Minotaurs. But then a thought strikes him. It might not work for ordinary luggage. It's called Coffin of the Dead, after all. A follow-up message confirms that one of the Minotaurs is now available for use. Hearing about his luggage problem, the Minotaur picks up his bag, wanting to carry it for him. Randall thanks him and decides he needs a name. He suggests Ace. The Minotaur lets out a hearty roar hearing it. Randall smiles as well, signaling the start of a new friendship. A notification soon follows. Ace's status has significantly increased due to familiar strengthening. It seems the ability activates when he gives them a name. Randall stands before his 2 companions, taking it all in. He's no longer a weak baggage handler, he's a necromancer now. He considers what he should do next. One thing is clear, he can't return to his old party. They would have cast him out anyway, and he feels no regret. Looking at Ray and Ace, he asks what they want to do. They can find new allies or travel alone, or they can even clear the dungeon again. Maybe even aim to be heroes. The possibilities are endless now that they are free from their old life. Both look pleased, and the sight fills him with calm certainty. This time, he'll live freely. Elsewhere, Fido and his party clash with a new wave of Minotaurs. Though they'd cleared this area before, more monsters have appeared. Fido and Luig take the front, while Mael and Quella provide support. Quella warns it's useless and begs Fido to stay back. Fido wants to take on the stronger enemies up front, but if that means that the rear is left unguarded, they won't be able to recover. In that moment, they finally begin to realize the value that Randall brought to their party. Mael snaps at Luig for poor control. Overwhelmed, Luig shouts back, furious at the endless monsters. Mael mutters that even Randall was better at managing this. Rage flares in Luig. He screams that none of this would be happening if Randall hadn't died with their luggage. He points out that his sword has rusted so badly it can't cut. The party slowly begins to turn against Fido. Overwhelmed by the situation, Fido mutters that it's not his fault. Overcome with rage, he starts cutting down all the monsters like a madman. Seeing this opportunity, Luig tells everyone to leave him and make a run for the third level. If they can get there, they can survive this. They glance toward Fido. He stands frozen. Quiet sobs escape him as memories flood back. Randall, the pride of their village, always first in exams, admired by everyone, a prodigy who helped anyone in need. Fido once asked to become like him, begged for his strength. He trained hard, learned everything he could, but never reached Randall's level. Admiration soured into jealousy. After forming a party together, Fido forced him into carrying bags, hiding his talent from the others. Now a massive monster looms behind him. The party shouts a warning. Fido's eyes widen as he stares ahead. With a cry of frustration, he demands to know, why does Randall stand in his way once again? He begins his rampage again, cutting down anything and everything standing before him. Elsewhere, Randall examines the rewards for clearing the boss floor along with Ray and Ace. He equips one of the items, the Cloak of Yomi. Its absorption ability boosts his stats, and his Necromancer powers evolve. His companions also grow stronger through familiar strengthening. Randall also gains the power to make his familiars invisible. Testing it, he successfully makes them disappear. When they are invisible, only he can see them. This will come in handy when visiting different towns. He can make Ace invisible since a Minotaur would frighten people and only keep Ray around. There is also the luggage he was carrying. Seeing their items, his thoughts drift to his old party. With quiet resolve, he tells Ray and Ace not to worry. He no longer cares about them. He plans to leave once he reports back to the guild, knowing they meant to expel him anyway. A part of him wonders how they'll react when they see him alive. At the guild, the townspeople stare in shock. Randall hadn't expected this much attention. Then Nana, the village chief, approaches. She walks straight to them, relieved that they are okay. Turning to Randall, she asks him to come with her to tell her what happened. His old party members are there as well. Fido asks bluntly how he's still alive. Randall answers calmly. He defeated all 5 Minotaurs. They don't believe him. Fido insists that there is no way he could have survived. Randall adds that died protecting him. However, Luig doesn't believe him, pointing to Ray's spirit form. Randall shakes his head and says he'll explain everything to the guild, then leave the party. With steady seriousness, he reminds them they had already planned to expel him. This way is better. Suddenly, Luig grabs his arm and begins yelling, demanding to know who he thinks he is to speak like that. He mocks Randall, calls him a burden, and tells him to stop acting all high and mighty. Randall stands confident, not flinching at this. Stunned, Luig demands to know how a former baggage carrier gained such strength. A notification flashes. Minotaur ability acquired. Superhuman strength. Evolved into extra skill. Ultra superhuman strength. Someone like Luig no longer bothers him. He knows he can shake him off anytime. With controlled force, he knocks him back. Enraged, Luig punches him down. Fido tries to stop him, but Luig rages on, blaming Randall for their injuries and accusing him of chasing rewards while others suffered. Randall wonders what he is talking about. Mail explains that Luig failed in his role as Vanguard, which led to Quella's injury. Quella tries to downplay it, reassuring them that she is fine. Randall offers her a robe, stunning her. Holding it, she admits it may be better than her current one. Fido is alarmed. Her robe is supposed to be a church artifact. He asks where Randall got the new one. Mail, recognizing it, explains it's a reward for defeating the floor boss. Randall confirms this and offers to share anything else they might need. Luig scoffs that maybe Randall can be useful after all. If there are more items like that, then their suffering wasn't wasted. He demands Randall hand everything over. Randall is taken aback. Luig continues calling him undeserving and insisting the loot belongs to them. Fido tries to restrain him, but Luig only grows louder. Guild members watch in tense silence. Luig seizes Randall's collar, accusing him of trickery, until Ace suddenly lifts him into the air. Stunned, Luig demands to know what's happening. Randall explains the Minotaur he killed is now his companion. The guild hall falls silent. Fido, realizing the implications, asks if Randall was a Tamer all along. Seeing the undead familiar leaves them speechless. Randall reminds them he already said Ray was dead. He declares that the loot will be divided evenly. Luig screams that it all belongs to them and demands release. Ace slams him to the ground. Randall turns to Nena. Calmly, he says he found 5 treasure chests, kept the cloak, and the rest should go to the others. She asks if he's sure. He nods. It's his parting gift. She accepts but insists it will be reported to the guild. She asks if he wants to hand over anything else. Randall requests that the 5 Minotaur corpses be distributed. Nena shakes her head. The other party members had already renounced their rights to the luggage, and since Randall killed the Minotaurs alone with no evidence of the others' help, full rights go to him. Fido and the rest are stunned. Nana adds that while Randall could still share if he insists, the guild recommends he take what he needs and trade the rest. Randall asks what she means. She explains the guild can appraise the corpses and items, then let the party buy what they want. Luigi explodes, calling it nonsense. Fido silences him and says he understands. Luigi protests again, demanding they take everything directly from Randall. Fido points out they'd have to pay immediately, and they're broke. Nana thanks him and says the guild will hold the items for now, and set prices later. Randall agrees and entrusts her with them. Before leaving, she informs him the guild will also handle the party's dissolution and his solo registration. Just then, Luigi grabs him again, shouting that he mocked them, let them suffer, and acts superior while chasing rewards. Ray growls low. Luigi freezes. Fido stares in disbelief. Wasn't that just Randall's dog? A bystander mutters that such strength is only natural for a familiar of a powerful adventurer. The townspeople laugh at Luigi, calling him pathetic and saying he doesn't belong here. Humiliated, Luigi lunges at Randall again, but Fido steps between them and holds him back. Fido turns to Randall and admits that while some of Luig's words were wrong, there was truth in them. He argues that Randall keeping his strength a secret endangered the party. Randall, calm and steady, asks if Fido realizes what he's saying. Blaming him for not speaking up, he points out, is the same as admitting they never gave him the chance to speak. By that logic, Fido has only condemned himself. Nana steps in, siding with Randall. When Fido protests, she reminds him they already spoke plenty before Randall arrived. They had claimed Randall wanted to sacrifice himself, that they tried to stop him, and that he refused to listen. She recalls how they always left responsibility to him, how he gave up the most. Yet they were ready to report to the guild that he had died recklessly. Fido seethes, but Nana presses on. If their claims are false, she warns, the guild will treat it as a crime. Submitting a false report could strip them of their S-rank status, even put bounties on their heads. Wanted posters might go up across the realm. She tells them plainly, compare both stories against the current situation, and the truth is clear. If they have objections, now is the time to speak. Otherwise, they must cooperate. The group, furious but cornered, follows her. Quella asks to come along. Moyle, realizing Luig has destroyed their standing, mutters that his very entry into adventuring had troubled the chivalric order. The guild won't ignore his outburst. Losing S-rank is the least of their worries. They may be finished altogether. She adds that between Randall and Fido, Randall is the obvious choice now. However, Randall sees through their true intentions. What matters is that when threatened, they betray comrades without hesitation. Their words are nothing but self-preservation. With finality, he tells Moyle and Quella he has no intention of ever joining them. Quella asks if his answer will remain no matter what. Randall confirms it, leaving her distraught. As they walk, Nana advises him that managing Necromancer abilities could become complicated. She hands him an artifact to help. He thanks her. She adds that the party's treatment of him was foolish. Randall agrees, saying that after Ray's death he somehow became a Necromancer, and maybe that's why he grew stronger. She explains that she was talking about when he was still a Tamer. From the guild's perspective, it was obvious he was the party's pillar. He laughs, thinking she's joking. She calmly explains. Even if they thought him useless and made him carry luggage, the fact he could cover their weaknesses while hauling their burdens was only possible because of his Tamer ability to summon a companion. Without him, they never would have reached S-rank. Her words leave him stunned. She admits she wanted to intervene when Fido began excluding him, but Luig's problems only grew worse. She apologizes sincerely. She hadn't expected matters to reach this point. Nana then asks if, with only Quella and Mail under him, Randall would consider leading a party. He refuses immediately. She presses that the guild needs an S-rank party. This is a frontier territory under a Margrave, and national defense requires such strength. She assures him they will find proper members and asks again. But Randall declines again, his decision final. For now, he wants to go solo. Seeing his resolve, she has no choice but to accept. She reminds him the guild still has a duty to keep an S-rank party. She offers to introduce new suitable party members and asks him to consider. Seeing her relentlessness, he finally gives in. For now, he chooses freedom. In the present, Randall recounts everything to Miriam. He explains how he worked solo until the day they met. And now, here they are. Miriam listens quietly, then tells him it must have been a long, tiring journey. He shakes his head. On the contrary, freedom feels better, and he's glad he met her. She laughs and says, of course he's happy. After all, she agreed to be his companion. He thanks her and suggests they rest. They need an early start. She agrees and they wish each other good night. Meanwhile, Fido and the others sit with their heads in their hands. They curse Randall. Mail puts the blame on Luwich for their current situation. She reminds him he crossed the line and there's no turning back. Being blacklisted is now inevitable for them. They all begin to realize it's over. Fido, drowning in frustration, stands in silence. Bitterly, he wonders how many times Randall will stand in his way before it finally ends. How long must he live in Randall's shadow? The next day, the whole group stands over Ray and Ace's lifeless bodies. Mirim asks once again if it's fine by them. Ray and Ace each reassure them with a growl. She casts her magic, unleashing a dark void that consumes both their bodies. A powerful explosion occurs and two items emerge from it. Their horns. It's followed by a sudden light burst. Randall receives a notification. Their evolution has raised their status dramatically. Ray, Ace, and Mirim's stats soar. Ace, once a minotaur, the highest grade species, has evolved into a unique monster bearing his own name. Ray becomes Fenrir, another highest grade species. Randall and Mirim are stunned. She explains their bodies were ideal hosts for spirits, but instead of becoming vessels, they fused with their spirits to gain power. After evolving, Ace and Ray show affection toward Randall. She quietly observes that they truly love him. It's not surprising for her to see why. Putting that aside, Randall recalls gaining new skills after forming a pact with Mirim the day before, and asks her to teach him. Surprised, she asks what skills he received. He tells her it was Lord of the Night and Black Fog. Shocked, she quickly checks if she can still use them, and to her relief, she still can. They aren't stolen, only borrowed. Nightfall magic, she explains, is a rare branch of darkness magic, tied to death itself. Only those who command death can wield it. Though he seems distracted, she offers to teach him anyway. It doesn't feel fair, she admits, but she accepts it because he is her friend. For a moment, Randall becomes flustered but quickly regains his composure. Mirim begins with Black Fog, which generates fog and lets the user atomize their body, rendering physical attacks useless. The defense is exceptional, but magic consumption is high. She then explains Lord of the Night, a power that creates a familiar using the caster's magic. The familiar is the soul of nightfall magic, her essence, a miracle from a human's perspective. Thanks to this power, she healed his arm earlier. Randall listens intently, recalling that moment. He asks what nightfall magic truly is. Just like Randall uses undead to absorb their abilities and increase his power, Mirim drinks blood to increase her lifespan. That is the essence of nightfall magic, an art bound to death. How he handles it will be critical. Seeing his concern, she reassures him. They are alike at their core. She then mentions the skill he used on his familiars the night before, Coffin of the Dead Spirit. She offers him an easier alternative. Immediately, Randall receives a notification. He has acquired the extra skill Nightfall Coffin. Surprised, he listens as she explains that the old skill stored only corpses, but this one can store anything. Testing it, he is pleasantly surprised and thanks her. She smiles, telling him he no longer needs to carry things by hand. When Ace looks disheartened, Randall reassures him. This new skill doesn't make him useless. There will come a time when only Ace can help, and on that day, he'll count on him. Comforted, Ace brightens, letting out a huge roar. Randall declares it's time to get going, and Mirim agrees. As they prepare to leave, Randall casually mentions that vampires have many weaknesses. Sunlight, holy water, silver, crosses. But none of these seem to affect her. Mirim explains that she is a vampire lord, not an ordinary vampire. He asks if even a wooden stake would fail. She answers calmly, survival depends less on the stake than on the person's strength. He accepts the logic, calling her invincible. She proudly agrees. Randall reflects that if he had become one of her kin, he wouldn't be able to walk in daylight. This catches her off guard. She quickly tries to backtrack, but her sloppiness can't be hidden. Relieved, he thinks they were lucky not to choose that path. Enthusiastic now, Mirim says she looks forward to adventuring as a human. Surprised, he asks about her old fear of them. She reminds him that if she's with him, it's fine. He begins to believe things may work out after all. As he activates his skill to use his vampire wings, Mirim is left shocked. She asks how he managed it. He replies simply, he must have absorbed that too. The group arrives at the guild after walking for hours. Randall quietly wishes they had flown using black wings. Mirim reminds him that if he'd run out of magic mid-flight, he could have died. So instead, he suggests that they buy a carriage. She counters that learning shadow movement would make traveling easier. As they head inside, Randall asks if she's sure everything will be fine, noting that the guild once conducted vampire exterminations. She wonders if they still do, but he explains there haven't been sightings or government orders in some time. In that case, Mirim assures him that it'll be fine. Not like they can defeat her even if they wanted to. When they enter, people stare with surprise and curiosity. Some whisper that the girl with him is cute. Others notice the dog by his side has grown larger. A few recall that he once brought a minotaur. Rumors spread that his refusal of Mael and Quella's offer must be tied to this girl. Stories twist into saying Mael and Quella abandoned Randall, only to be rejected in return, leaving them looking like the ones left behind. Amidst the murmurs, Mirim remarks that Randall seems popular. He replies evenly that she stands out more. Startled, she wonders if she's made a mistake. After all, she studied humans carefully. He reassures her lightly that she hasn't done anything wrong. Nena arrives and greets Randall. Spotting Mirim, she asks her name. Mirim responds warmly, compliments Nena's good eye, then suddenly grabs her face, calling her beautiful and confessing an urge to eat her. Randall quickly intervenes, apologizes for her eccentric behavior, and introduces her as his new companion. Nena greets her politely. Randall warns Mirim that if she slips up and gets caught, it could cause trouble. So, she needs to be careful. Nena asks if Mirim would be willing to take the registration test to determine her rank. Randall agrees and confirms with Mirim, who accepts. Nena also mentions reassessing Randall's rank, which surprises him. They head to the training field. Since his partner hasn't arrived yet, Nena suggests beginning with Mirim's test. She explains Mirim only needs to attack a target however she wishes. While waiting for preparations, she tells Randall her instincts warn against breaking the target. Half amused, he admits she's probably right. She shushes him and asks how much she should hold back. She does have a family heirloom knife passed down through generations. Randall agrees that this should suffice and adds that if the target breaks, she can put the blame on the weapon. When preparations are complete, Mirim steps forward with the knife. Observers notice she isn't using magic or ranged attacks, only close combat. The blade itself looks deadly. Watching, Nena teases Randall, asking what country's princess he's been assigned to protect. Mirim strikes with precision. The target shatters instantly. The crowd is stunned. Some whisper it must have been coincidence or that the target was old, but regardless, Mirim proves her strength. Jealous murmurs ripple through the onlookers, envious of Randall for arriving with such a powerful and beautiful girl. Nena struggles to make sense of it. Randall offers a calm excuse. Maybe the target was worn out. Nena reluctantly accepts and suggests giving Mirim a B rank like him. Mirim turns to Randall, asking if she overdid it. He assures her it's fine. At that moment, another girl approaches, praising Mirim's performance. She adds that even if the target was aged, the way she cut it didn't feel human. Nena scolds her for being late and calls her by name, Luminous. Randall stiffens at the mention. Mirim notices and asks if he knows her. He answers seriously, Holy Sword. Luminous Revest is a living legend. She bears the rare Holy Sword skill, which appears only once a century, and is the youngest solo adventurer ever to achieve S rank. They are all stunned to see her. Without delay, she proposes they begin, reminding them that both of them are quite busy people. Drawing her sword, she steps forward. A sharp gust of wind rises, and Randall watches intently, struggling to grasp the pressure radiating from her. Even though she is younger than him, her aura is overwhelming. The intensity builds, and Randall braces himself, only for Ray and Ace to step forward protectively. He quietly halts them. Luminous is intrigued to see the power of necromancy firsthand. As soon as she begins her attack, she disappears, a testament to her speed. Eyes dart upward as she descends with full force, targeting Ray. Ace intercepts at the last moment. She notes his hesitation and presses forward with precise, relentless strikes. Quickly, she concludes that both Ray and Ace possess power beyond A rank, and that this Minotaur is no ordinary summon. She steps toward Ray directly, and he meets her with full strength. Their clash shakes the field. Watching, Randall realizes how much his familiars have grown. He silently acknowledges their strength. Turning back to him, Luminous questions his composure. She calls his approach cowardly, hiding behind familiars while keeping himself safe. Alert, Randall activates Black Fog. She reminds him sharply, this is his exam. She attacks, but the blade simply goes through him. However, it's not over yet. Using her speed, she appears behind him, catching him off guard. Her strike cuts into his arm, blood spilling. She pauses, noting how he sacrificed his arm to survive. Randall steadies himself and replies with quiet determination. If he wants to pass, this is the resolve he must show. Satisfied, she lowers her weapon. In the name of the Holy Sword, she declares him worthy of S rank. The crowd erupts in astonishment. Another solo S rank has appeared before their eyes. Whispers spread, praising his talent. Randall thanks her modestly. She affirms his doubt, saying he is far from defeating her. But one day, he may. A system notification appears. He has acquired the extra skills Super Reactions and Ultra Sensory by absorbing abilities. The sudden boost leaves him stunned. Nana rushes in, congratulating him with excitement. She praises not only his familiars, but Randall himself for growing stronger. He replies humbly, crediting Mirim. She counters firmly, his strength is real. He stands quietly, still astonished. With the rank assessment complete, Luminous' work is done. Pleased, Luminous notes it was a great bout, and offers her hand, suggesting they fight again someday. Randall agrees with a cheerful smile, reflecting that the experience was valuable. She thanks him in return and reminds him not to forget the sensation from earlier. Then, mentioning she's off to play with some nearby dragons, she wishes him success. He smiles back and says he'll do the same. With that, she takes flight and departs. Miriam rushes to Randall's side, checking his arm. He insists he's fine and that the wound isn't too deep, but she points out the heavy bleeding and tells him not to move. Healing him with magic, she surprises both Randall and Nana. Nana then asks them to follow her. Inside, Nana's tone grows serious. She asks Randall why he kept the truth from her. He apologizes and explains Mirim's situation. She is a vampire with a painful past and fear of humans. He didn't want to stir up unnecessary trouble. Seeing the trouble she has caused, Miriam agrees to leave willingly. She doesn't want to endanger anyone with her presence. Nana asks why she suddenly wants to go. Miriam wonders aloud if it's wrong for her to stay. Nana quickly denies it, telling her there's no issue. Turning to Randall, she says the real problem is that he submitted false information to the guild, a serious offense. Randall admits fault and expresses regret. Nana accepts this, saying she'll report to the guildmaster and asks him to wait. Both Randall and Miriam fall silent. Nana reports to Guildmaster Galen, who greets Randall calmly, noting it's been a while. Miriam quietly asks who he is, and Randall explains Galen is the Guildmaster. Galen approaches, identifying Miriam as the rumored girl. Introducing himself, he remarks on her powerful aura. She laughs and confirms she is a vampire lord. Guian tells Randall it looks like he's brought someone important, asking if he is her subordinate. Miriam replies that it doesn't matter. He is her friend. Surprised, Guian says Randall has found a good one. Still unsettled, Randall asks why everything feels so serious. Guan admits regret, saying if he had handled things better, matters wouldn't have escalated. Randall assures him it's unnecessary and asks if problems will follow. Guian explains that thanks to Lord Cecilum, the situation hasn't grown worse. It also helped that he hadn't issued Fido the hero certificate yet. Randall asks who Lord Cecilum is. Guian explains he is the frontier lord governing the region. As for Fido's party, Guian says he can't ban them outright since they're S rank, but they'll be placed under house arrest. Luigi's case, however, is different. His license will be revoked, and he won't return to the Order of Knights. Guilain admits the punishment is light but says it's favorable for Randall. When asked why, he compares it to cutting off a lizard's tail, removing part without harming the whole. Both he and Cecilum agreed not to escalate further. The other 3 members will be demoted to A rank, but their chances of receiving new quests are slim. Guillain adds that the government bears some responsibility for forcing Luig into the party, and that they plan to use this fact to their advantage. He notes that Fido is a capable knight, and the other 2 have potential, but without guidance they cannot function well. Right now, no adventurers are willing to support them. Nana points out that rumors after the incident have made people afraid to associate with them. Guillain agrees, saying the best outcome is for them to reflect on their mistakes. He then asks Miriam to keep her identity secret for now. She says she doesn't mind, but asks if it's because she's a vampire. He explains that certain high-ranking officials are sensitive about such things. Miriam accepts, and Guillain clarifies that his real concern is avoiding more trouble for them. If she's fine identifying as human, then it needn't be an issue. Sincerely, he tells her he likes her. Randall reminds her that not all humans see vampires as enemies anymore. She smiles and agrees. Guillain then shifts the subject. He tells Randall there's a quest he wants him to take now that he's back. Randall asks what it is. Guylaine replies, an investigation of the dragon's graveyard.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.